Good morning, and welcome to a journey that could fundamentally transform how you approach each day of your life. Today, we're exploring the morning rituals of the Stoics, ancient wisdom that has survived for over 2,000 years and is perhaps more relevant in our chaotic modern world than ever before. Imagine waking up tomorrow with a profound sense of purpose. Picture yourself starting the day not with the familiar rush of anxiety or the immediate reach for your smartphone, but instead with a centered mind and a clear intention. This isn't fantasy. This was the reality for practitioners of Stoicism, one of history's most practical and enduring philosophies. The Stoics, figures like Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the Roman Empire while writing his meditations by candlelight, Seneca, who advised emperors and wrote timeless letters on living well, and Epictetus, who rose from slavery to become one of history's greatest teachers. These remarkable individuals understood something fundamental about human existence. How we begin our day largely determines its quality. But let's be clear about what we're discussing. These morning rituals aren't about adding more items to your already overwhelming to-do list. They're not about waking at 4 a.m. to perform complicated routines that leave you exhausted before breakfast. The Stoic approach is elegantly simple yet profoundly effective, focusing on mindset rather than mechanics. Over the next 30 days, we'll explore how incorporating these ancient practices can help you develop remarkable resilience against life's challenges, greater perspective on what truly matters, and the ability to maintain tranquility even when facing adversity. What makes these rituals so powerful? The Stoics understood that most of our suffering comes not from events themselves, but from our judgments about those events. By beginning each day by training our minds, we create a psychological buffer against whatever challenges might arise. We prepare ourselves to respond rather than react. Consider Marcus Aurelius, who began each day by reminding himself, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." This wasn't pessimism. It was preparation. By anticipating difficulties, he removed their power to disturb his tranquility. The framework we'll explore over the next month consists of 5 core morning practices that take as little as 20 minutes combined, yet have the potential to recalibrate your entire approach to life. First, the practice of early rising and momentary contemplation, creating space before the world demands your attention. Second, meditation on impermanence and mortality, not to induce fear, but to sharpen your appreciation for the gift of another day. Third, preparing for adversity through negative visualization, mentally rehearsing challenges to diminish their impact. Fourth, clarifying your values and intentions, ensuring your actions align with your deepest principles. And fifth, the practice of gratitude, training your mind to see abundance rather than scarcity. What's remarkable about these practices is their universality. Whether you're a CEO making critical decisions, a parent navigating family life, a student facing academic pressure, or someone struggling with personal challenges, these morning rituals provide a framework for approaching life with greater wisdom and equanimity. As Epictetus taught his students, make it your daily practice to consider the implications of death, exile, pain, and all the so-called evils, but primarily death. Then you will never have an abject thought nor desire anything excessively. Now I understand if this sounds intense. The Stoics didn't shy away from life's more difficult truths, but there's something profoundly liberating about facing reality as it is, rather than as we wish it to be. And there's something incredibly empowering about beginning each day with intentional practices that strengthen our minds against whatever challenges might arise. Over the next 30 days, we'll explore each of these practices in detail. We'll examine the philosophy behind them, the science that now validates their effectiveness, and practical ways to incorporate them into your life, regardless of your circumstances. The promise is significant: greater mental clarity, emotional resilience, and the ability to maintain perspective even in difficult situations. Not because you've avoided life's challenges, but because you've developed the inner resources to meet them with wisdom and courage. Are you ready to begin this journey? To explore morning practices that have guided some of history's most remarkable individuals through plague, exile, imprisonment, and the ordinary challenges of human existence? Let's start tomorrow morning when your alarm first sounds. Instead of reaching immediately for your phone, take just 3 deep breaths and whisper to yourself, "I have been given another day. How will I use this unrepeatable gift?" And with that simple act, your journey into Stoic morning rituals will have begun. Now that we understand the profound impact these morning rituals had on the Stoics, let's explore each practice in greater depth. These 5 pillars form the foundation of what we'll be implementing over the next 30 days. The journey we began discussing moments ago isn't merely theoretical, it's a practical path walked by countless individuals across millennia. From Roman emperors to modern CEOs, these morning practices have proven their worth in cultivating what the Stoics called apatheia. Not apathy as we understand it today, but a state of mind free from emotional disturbance. The first pillar is what Marcus Aurelius practiced religiously: early rising and momentary stillness. Rising before dawn was considered sacred by the Stoics, not as a productivity hack, but as an opportunity to commune with oneself before the world's demands crescendo. When you wake tomorrow, resist the immediate impulse to check notifications. Instead, remain in bed for just 60 seconds. Feel the weight of your body, the rhythm of your breath. Notice the transition from sleep to wakefulness. This brief moment of consciousness before action sets a powerful precedent for the day ahead. Seneca wrote, "The best ideas are common property." This simple practice of conscious awakening has been shared across cultures, from Stoic philosophers to Buddhist monks, because it works. It creates a momentary pause between stimulus and response, between unconsciousness and the day's first decision. The second pillar addresses our most uncomfortable truth: mortality meditation. Each morning, the Stoics contemplated the finite nature of existence. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. This isn't morbid, it's clarifying. Tomorrow morning, after your 60 seconds of stillness, simply acknowledge, "I have been given no guarantee of another day." Feel how this thought cuts through trivialities. Notice how it immediately prioritizes what matters. Modern psychology confirms what the Stoics intuited. Contemplating mortality doesn't increase anxiety, but actually reduces it, helping us distinguish between genuine concerns and manufactured ones. The third pillar is what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This practice involves briefly visualizing potential challenges in the day ahead. Epictetus advised his students, "When you're about to undertake any action, remind yourself what kind of action it is." Before important meetings, difficult conversations, or challenging tasks, the Stoics would mentally rehearse potential obstacles, not with anxiety, but with calm strategic thinking. Tomorrow morning, take 2 minutes to ask, "What challenges might I face today? How would my best self respond?" This mental rehearsal creates psychological antibodies against disruption and emotional reactivity. The fourth pillar centers on clarifying values and intentions. Seneca wrote that most people don't know what they want except at the very moment they want it. The Stoics believe that without clear values, we become reactive to external circumstances rather than guided by internal principles. Each morning, ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be today? Not what you want to accomplish, but how you want to show up in the world. Patient, courageous, compassionate? Choose one or two virtues to embody, regardless of what the day brings. Research in behavioral psychology confirms that this kind of value setting dramatically increases the likelihood of aligned action, even under stress. It creates what psychologists call implementation intentions, mental pathways that activate automatically when triggered. The fifth and final pillar is the practice of morning gratitude. While often associated with modern positive psychology, gratitude was central to Stoic practice. Marcus Aurelius began his meditations by methodically listing people he was grateful for and what he had learned from each. Tomorrow morning, before leaving your bedroom, identify 3 specific things you're grateful for. The Stoics believed this practice was transformative, not because it made them feel good, but because it aligned their minds with reality. The reality that despite life's hardships, we are constantly supported by countless seen and unseen gifts. These 5 practices, conscious awakening, mortality meditation, anticipating challenges, clarifying values, and expressing gratitude, form the foundation of our 30-day journey. Together, they take less than 20 minutes, yet they address the most fundamental aspects of human experience: our relationship with time, adversity, purpose, and perspective. What makes these practices so powerful is their cumulative effect. Each morning, you're not merely performing rituals, you're rewiring neural pathways, you're training attention, developing emotional resilience, and cultivating what psychologists now call metacognition, the ability to observe your own thinking. As we prepare to implement these practices, remember that the goal isn't perfection. The ancient Stoics understood that we are fallible beings. The power lies not in flawless execution, but in patient, persistent return to these practices, even when, especially when, life becomes challenging. Tomorrow morning, when your eyes first open, remember, this is where it begins. Not with dramatic changes, but with a single moment of conscious awareness. As Epictetus said, make it your daily practice. Daily. One day at a time. That's how lasting transformation occurs. Are you ready to begin? The 5 pillars we've just explored form the foundation of our Stoic morning practice. But how do we transform these ancient wisdom teachings into a sustainable modern routine? How do we ensure that these practices don't become mere intellectual exercises, but actually reshape our daily experience? The answer lies in structured implementation, a deliberate 30-day journey that progressively builds these habits into the fabric of your life. The Stoics understood that philosophy wasn't meant to be merely contemplated, but lived. As Epictetus reminded his students, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Your 30-day journey begins tomorrow morning with just the first pillar, conscious awakening. For 3 days, focus solely on those 60 seconds of stillness upon waking. Don't rush to implement all 5 practices at once. The Stoics valued depth over breadth, mastery over mere exposure. On day 4, while maintaining your morning minute of stillness, add the second practice, mortality contemplation. Again, give yourself 3 days with just these 2 practices. Notice how they begin to influence not just your mornings, but your entire day. How decisions that once seemed complicated become clearer when viewed through the lens of finitude. By day 7, you'll incorporate the third pillar, anticipating challenges. This is where many begin to experience the first profound shifts in their emotional landscape. Problems that once would have derailed your entire day now appear as expected guests rather than home invaders. Seneca wrote that We suffer more in imagination than in reality. As you practice premeditation of potential difficulties, you'll notice something remarkable. The gap between expectation and reality narrows. You become less shocked by obstacles, more resourceful in your responses. By the middle of your journey, around day 15, you'll have integrated all 5 practices into your morning routine. This is when the compound effect begins to manifest. Like compound interest in finance, small daily investments in your mental state create returns that multiply over time. The second half of your 30-day journey focuses not on adding new practices, but on deepening your relationship with the existing ones. You'll notice subtle shifts in how you engage with each pillar. The mortality meditation that perhaps felt uncomfortable in week 1 now brings a strange clarity. The gratitude practice that may have seemed simple now reveals layers of profound connection. By day 25, something remarkable often occurs, what psychologists call automaticity. The practices no longer require the same level of conscious effort. They begin to happen almost spontaneously, like the way experienced drivers no longer think about every movement when operating a vehicle. As you approach the final days of your journey, take time to reflect on the changes you've experienced. Many practitioners report significant transformations in 4 key areas. First, emotional regulation, the ability to respond rather than react to provocations. What once triggered hours of rumination now passes through your awareness without hijacking your attention. Second, clarity of purpose, a sharper sense of what matters and what doesn't. Decisions that once consumed mental energy now align naturally with your core values. Third, present moment awareness, the capacity to fully engage with what's happening now rather than dwelling in regrets about the past or anxieties about the future. And finally, resilience, the internal strength that allows you to face adversity without being defined by it. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." As we conclude this exploration of Stoic morning rituals, remember that the ancient philosophers never sought to escape life's challenges, but to meet them with wisdom. These practices won't eliminate difficulty from your life. That was never their purpose. Instead, they develop the inner resources that allow you to navigate life's complexities with grace and purpose. The Stoics believed that philosophy was medicine for the soul. These morning practices are not spiritual luxuries, but practical necessities, especially in our age of constant distraction and artificial urgency. 30 days from now, you won't be a different person. You'll be more fully yourself. The noise that obscures your wisdom will have quieted. The reactive patterns that pull you away from your values will have weakened. The clear voice of your better nature will be more audible in the morning silence. Begin tomorrow. One conscious breath, one moment of stillness, one step on an ancient path that has guided countless others through times far more turbulent than our own. As Seneca reminds us, begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. The morning awaits.